Okay, the Gemara says we're 16 lines in the bottom of Daf Maseches Maseches Gittin in the Bavli. Tרחיה, he kept him with him. Ashmedai, Shlomo kept Ashmedai with him. Ad Banya the until he built the base of Mikdash. One day he was alone. He says Shlomo Melch told Ashmedai. It says Kisoyafis Re'im Loi.
Hey David, where are you? I still don't.
Oh.
I don't.
We're 16 lines from the bottom. Tרחיה on Maseches 68b. There's like a little aleph there, at least in my Gemara. It's 4 words in. The line starts De'ika Toisei. It's the 3rd word on the line.
I got it. Thank you.
So again, Tרחיה the Bani the Beis Mikdash. He kept Ashmedai for a while. I guess for 7 years he was captured by Shlomo Melech. He kept him until he built the Beis Mikdash. One day he was on his own. It says Kesoyfes Reimloi. Hashem has Soyfes Reimloi. I mean Kesoyfes the Malach Yeshoris. Soyfes is the Malach Yeshoris. Maybe because they fly. It's like oif. I'm not sure exactly. And Re'im Elo Hashedim. Re'im is referring to the demons. According to this fire, it's a wild ox. Exactly how you translate it. Why are you so impressive that Hashem says Kesoyfes Reimloi that your mamash compared to the Malach Yeshoris? He looked like a regular guy, Ashmedai. What's so impressive about you guys? He told him, take away the chains from me. He had chains with Hashem's name on it. And give me your ring. Shlomo Melech had a special ring for protection in order for him. I'll show you my strength. So I guess Shlomo Melech, even though he was very smart, he was a little naive. That's what it seems like anyway. Shakli the Shashilta Mine, he took the chains off. The Yavle Iskase, he gave Ashmedai his ring. Bale, Ashmedai right away swallowed the ring. I suppose he was afraid to break it, but he wasn't afraid to swallow it. He put one of his wings. Maybe he didn't even show that he had wings before, but I don't know, maybe he did. He took one of his rings and he spread it to the heavens, the other one to the earth. This is the concept, by the way, that the demons have a shaykhus both to the earth and to the sky. We said already before that he was able to go to Mesifta Tרחיה and Mesifta Dara. Paske Arba Mea Parsi. He shoved.
They come from the sky, don't they? Doesn't Hashem send them from the sky? Something like Malach.
Demons? I'm not sure.
Yes.
He sent them flying 400 parses, which is like 1,200 miles away. Now it's interesting. He didn't kill him. He just he pushed him away. Maybe because Shlomo Melech was so honored in Mishiva Shamayla. I don't know exactly. And what's the purpose of all the toil that a person toils under the sun? Shlomo Melech was the king of the whole world, even over the demons, and ultimately he lost everything in one fell swoop. So that's what he means when he says, don't toil too much, you know what I mean? I don't know if that's a lesson, but yeah. In other words, he also wanted to know the greatness of Ashmedai, and that was his downfall. He reached too high. I don't know exactly how to translate this into a lesson for us. Person sometimes wants everything, and when you want everything, want shleimus, that could lead to your downfall. Ultimately, he did say he had something left from all of his toil. My vizet, what's this? What does he have left? One of them says his staff. He still had a staff. He had a special staff. Another one, or at least he had a staff. Another one said his cloak. That was a very chashuv cloak. His gundai. He was left with this clothing. So the Gemara says, he would go and beg. Every place that he went, he would say, I am Kehelis, I was a king over Yerushalmi. So he would say that who he was, and nobody believed him. Because Ashmedai took the appearance, he was able to change his appearance. He took the appearance of Shlomo Melech. When he came to the Sanhedrin, and he told them also, Amr Rabban the Chum said, Michdi, Shaita b'chad milsa lo yisarach. A shaita doesn't say the same thing over and over again. Hi, what's going on here? They told the children of Shlomo Melech, does he ask for you No, I'm not Benayo. They asked Benayo, does Shlomo Melech ask for you? He was a big advisor. Amr Lahu Loy. He told the Sanhedrin no. Benayo was also in the Av Bezin of the Sanhedrin. So they asked the queen, does the king send for you? Or all the queens, some have 300 wives. They sent back in, yes. Because bitku bekare. They said, check his feet. His feet, he has wearing socks. He's wearing socks. I guess they can't change their feet. They have the feet of a chicken. I don't know what the Pnimistic Indian here.
Oh, you're talking about the demons.
Yeah. It's interesting. He was able to change his whole appearance besides for his feet. Why? I'm sure the Mepharshim talk about it, but I'm not sure.
Maybe because they fly. They have feet like a bird.
No, but he changed his appearance. Nobody saw that he had wings.
Oh.
He's asking for us even when we're nidais. So it's interesting, even though he's a sort of a malach, nevertheless we see the power of hashchosa, of the demon, that he didn't care about the halachas of nida. Maybe he wasn't obligated because he was a demon, or because he was created from sin. He's even asking for Bathsheba, to be with Bathsheba, the mother of the king. They didn't know this was going on. So they brought him Shlomo HaMelech. They gave him a new ring with Hashem's name and the chain that has Hashem's name to protect him. The ring was to protect him. The chain was to imprison him. Ki ayil chazia and porach. When Shlomo Melech came into the throne room and Ashmedai saw him, he flew away. He ran away. Ashmedai ran away. Nevertheless, he was scared of him. This is what it says in the pasuk. He had 60 men from the strongest men of Klal Yisrael around his bed. All of them were wearing swords. They knew how to fight. Each one had his sword on his thigh from the fear of night. What was the fear of night? It was the fear of Ashmedai. Shlomo Melech was scared.
We say that on Shema Lamita. We say that, right? We say that for.
I guess we say it for protection from whatever could happen.
Yeah, we say it 3 times. Maybe that's why we say it 3 times.
Yeah. So it's interesting. This whole story is only according to one opinion. The end of this story is that he became the king again. One opinion is that he was a king and then he became a hedit. He never became the king again.
Are you talking about Shmuel?
Shlomo HaMelech.
Shlomo HaMelech, I should say. He did.
Yeah.
Well, how could he become a commoner? He decided
Ashmedai threw him out.
Oh.
It's interesting. So according to how do you have Machlekes Mitzias? Maybe even though he defeated, I don't know. Maybe even though he defeated Ashmedai, he still never really became the king again. Ula Yishlemer. Because it's a problem to have Machlekes Mitzias. There's the Gemara L'Doma Dereisha. We're getting to illnesses and cures. So it's interesting. I was actually reading an article that 1,000 years there was a medicine written for something in the eyelid, and they tested it like a modern pharmaceutical company tested this cure, and it was 9 ingredients, and they tested it, and it only worked with all the 9 ingredients together, and it even worked better than antibiotics, because antibiotics sometimes you use the antibiotics, and then new forms of the illness come that antibiotics don't work anymore. And this worked against everything. It's very interesting. So the Talmud has medicinal, a lot of, in certain sugyas in Shas, Maseches Shabbos, Maseches Gittin, I think Maseches Avodah Zarah, there's medicines in Shas, probably more places. And Rav Shirira Goyin says that the Goyinim were, the Amiroim were not doctors, but so therefore you shouldn't use these cures unless you're sure that they work. That's what Rav Shirira Goyin said. In Bechlal, we say that our bodies change nowadays, but it's interesting. It would be very interesting if somebody would test these cures to see if they still work. Some company or whatever would test them. Might make a lot of money if you're successful in some of them. Anyway, worth looking into for a doctor or a pharmacist, whatever. people
Well,
who
it might be easier than antibiotics. You have to take them according to a strict schedule, right? Or
here also you have
they're not
here
effective
also,
at all. You know what I mean? If it's 3 times a day, it has to be 3 times a day. It can't be, and you have to within
Right.
a certain time period.
Yeah, here also you have specific, very specific things you have to do. So let's see, let's take a look. So Doma Derecha, let's say you have blood in your head, certain illness. Rashi says it gives you a headache, pain in the head that comes because of blood.
Wow.
Lacey Shirvino, you have to bring a cypress. That's what he charges Shirvino. It's a type of cedar. That's what Rashi says. Uvino is a willow.
Cypress, right?
Vino is a willow. V'asadora, a moist myrtle branch. V'zeitz, an olive. And I think it's the olive itself. Unless we're talking about an olive leaf. The chilfa, and you should bring a poplar. That's what it says in Safari. I'm using the Safari for translations. The chilfa de yama, and a sea willow, and v'yavlo, and a certain type of grass. That it says in the Safari, it's synodin grass. I don't know how they know that. And v'lish lukino ba'ad yadod, you should boil them together. V'linto tlasme kosi ahaigiso, teresho tlasme kosi ahaigiso. You should pour 300 cups of this water that was boiled together on one side of your head, another 300 on the other side of the head. So you see, it's also very specific how much you have to do. 300 cups on each side of the head. It's like you have to have a huge pot of the stuff. The Eloi can mean 2 things. I'm not sure what it means. It can either mean if it doesn't work or if it means if you don't have it. I mean, either way, you should lechatchila use this. This is the best. It seems like the best and the first option of what you should use. One second. I'm just going to put you on mute because this is background noise. Okay, so what do you do if you don't have it or if it doesn't work? I'm not sure what that means. You should bring a white rose that Rashi says all the leaves are on one side. It's a certain very specific type of white rose. But you should boil it. You should pour 60 cups on one side of your head and 60 cups on the other side of the head. This is a different illness. Rashi says you only have a headache on half your head. It's interesting. The Safari said a migraine. So it's interesting that the Safari's translation doesn't seem to be the greatest. Because they should follow Rashi. Okay, you have a headache on half of your head. You should bring a wild rooster. We already spoke about the wild rooster. We said that it was a duchifas, which is, where is it again? A wild rooster. Duchifas. Okay, I guess it's called, that's what it is, the wild rooster. Fine. So you should bring a wild rooster. This is very interesting. You have to shecht it in using a very specific tool. With a white zuz. And Rashi says zuz chivra is a silver zuz, which is pure silver. That's how you have to shecht the rooster. Very, 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 it's interesting. And why would that have an effect on the rooster? I don't know. You should shecht it on the side of the head that it hurts him. You should be very careful of the blood because it could blind you. So it should only go on your head and not on your eyes. You should hang it on the doorpost, on the doorposts. When you're going to go into the door, you'll brush against it. When you go out, you're going to brush against it. We're going now to Samach Aleph.
Excuse me, David, that's not a valid shita, is it?
It could be, if it's sharp enough. But you're
if
not
it's
eating
for medicine,
you're not eating it, right? You're not eating it.
Oh. Okay.
Okay.
If it's sharp enough, it's acceptable.
Yeah. So Rashi says, yeah, if it's sharp enough. Levruksi, we're on the next daf, Samach Tes. Vruksi is a sickness in the eye. It's called tylos, says Rashi. It's interesting that Rashi actually had a very specific definition for it in Old French. And Tosfos actually asks, the L'chorah, it says in Maseches B'choros about it's a mum kavua, it's considered a permanent mum. So he says it's not easy. So because it's not easy to cure, it's considered a permanent mum. Or he answers, it depends. If you catch it in the beginning, you could cure it. If it's in the end, you're not going to be able to cure it. Yosh, this is going to take a long time to go through this. Let's say akravo, you have to bring a scorpion deshov chumre of 7 colors. Rashi says because it's old. V'niyabshe betula, you should dry it only in the shade. You shouldn't dry it in the sun. It has to be dried in the shade. Obviously, you kill it and you dry it in the shade. V'nishchek tarti mansa kuchla v'chada mansa minei, and you have to grind 2 portions of kuchla. Rashi says it's a certain type of dye that you get from a tree or from the wing of a bird. That's interesting, I think. And 1 portion from the scorpion. 3 times on one eye and 3 times on the other eye. You should fill it in. You shouldn't do more than 3 times in each eye. And each eye, your eye will burst. The shavride delelia. Shavride delelia is a blindness that comes on a person at night. Do we have such an illness today? I'm not sure.
Well, night blindness. I have it to a certain degree. I don't like driving at night. I have a problem.
Okay. Neise shudra barka. You should bring the hair of an animal. Rashi says, like the tail of a horse or a cow. And 1 of your legs should get tied with this. And the other leg should be the other one should be the leg of a dog. Children should bang earthenware behind you. Where they should tell him asa kalba achsa tarnago. Old dog and foolish chicken. And then what he does is veligve shev umse mishiva bate. He should take 7 pieces of meat, raw meat, from 7 houses. And they should put this meat in the doorpost, in the socket of the door. And he should eat it in the dumps of the city. They're very interesting. I don't know how this has anything to do with curing night blindness. Maybe it has to do with this was caused by a demon. So this is a way to get the demon out. I don't know.
Who administered this cure? Was it the Kohanim or the Kohen or
the Kohen? No, it doesn't say the Kohen.
Or could be anybody or the patient.
Yeah, anyone.
Patient could. Oh, okay.
Then he should untie this rope. So it seems like the whole time he had this rope tied to him, which was tying him to the leg of a dog. This is what they should say. The night blindness of so-and-so should leave him. And then they say, and they should blow the dog in his eye. I think I don't know if that's what they say or if that's what they do. I think it's what they do.
I wonder if they kept records to see how effective this cure was. To see,
Yeah, interesting. I wouldn't try it if I were you.
No.
L'shavride the yamama day blindness. Let's say shiva sumke. You should bring 7 spleens. Migava de chayusa, from the inside of animals. Yeah. And then This is interesting. You should roast it on the earthenware. Rashi says dirty earthenware with blood. They used to let blood. He should sit on the inside, I guess, of the house, and other people on the outside. And he should and he should say like this. The blind person should say, Havli deichel. Give me to eat. And the other people should tell them, take person who sees and you should eat. After he eats this meat, he should break the earthenware. Because if you're not going to break the life, you're not going to break the earthenware, it's going to come back. Let's say you have blood that comes from your nose, a nosebleed that doesn't stop. They say, Gavya kohen d'shmei Levi. You should bring a kohen whose name is Levi. Levi lemafreh. He should write to him Levi backwards. If not, a person should come and he should write, Ana papi shila bar sumka lemafreh. Sumki. Rashi says this is an incantation. If it's not going to work, he should write like this. Tam deli b'mei kesef, tam deli b'mei pagam. This is also an incantation. If not, lesi kora das pasta. You should bring the roots of vetches. They translate as fodder. And you should bring for ashla and a rope. Ashla depurya, a rope that came from a bed. Depurya atika, an old bed. The kurtzo.
Yeah.
It's a certain type of paper. The umberike in saffron. The sumka de lulivo, something red that grows with the lulav. The niklino b'adi adodi, he should burn them together. V'leise give of adam, he should bring pads of wool. V'nigdol tartib silto, and he should make from this wool 2 strands. V'litmish b'cholo, he should soak it in vinegar. V'nigdabel b'kitma, and he should roll it in this ash that he had just created. B'kitma hadain. V'neisa v'nechina, and then he puts it in his nostrils. Okay. If it doesn't work, or if you can't do it, I don't know. I'm not sure what it means. He should find a stream of water that goes from the east to west. He should step over it. And he should put 1 foot on one side and another foot on another side. With his right hand, he should take mud from under his left foot. That's hard. It has to be a very thin stream. He should take with his left hand under his right foot. You know, it's interesting. The Gemara is so logical, and this stuff seems so illogical. But what do you know? Maybe David should. It's amazing what David should created. Is anything logical? Some things work. There's certain properties that work. But here it's like your right hand from your left foot and your left hand from your right foot. Again, you should make 2 strands of wool that you should twine together. Benitmish betino, you should roll it in this mud that you just taken. Or you should soak it in the mud. V'neisef v'nechin, you put in your nostril. V'yeloi, if it doesn't work. Leisef toisi marzava, you should sit under a drain pipe. The naisu maya, they should bring water, v'lishtu alei, and they should pour it on him. Just like this water stopped, the blood should also stop. Okay. Now we're in a new illness. The domadosim puma, person has blood coming out of his mouth. This is a very serious illness. But we check him. Where is it? Begilo de chitza, the straw of wheat. So you basically put the straw of wheat in his mouth or touch it with the blood. And if it sticks, the blood sticks on the straw, then you know it's coming from the lungs. The lungs are bleeding, and there's hope. There's a fix. If it doesn't stick, the blood slides off. It comes from the liver. There's no hope.
No remedy?
Right? There's no remedy for such a thing.
Wow.
Ravami told Rav Ashi, we have, it says the opposite. And this is in, I guess, when it comes to trephus, it says like this: if the COVID was taken without anything being left. But the reo, your treifa, even if it's not totally missing, if it just has a hole in it, or a part of it is missing. So we see the lung gets much more damaged. It's much more damaged than the liver. Even you become a treifa more easily when it comes from the lung. That's what we see in the dinim trephus. He told him, because the blood is already coming out of his mouth, we'll say that the liver is already long gone. It's totally dissolved. There's nothing left. And it's coming from the lung. Rashi says, because the liver is below the lung, and it's still coming out of your mouth, it must be totally dissolved. So therefore, that's why there's no takana for you if your liver's gone. Mar said, you have hope if it's coming from your lung. My takante, what's the takana? They say shiva kune mi pirma desilka. You should bring 7 fistfuls of beets that are cut up. Vishiva kune pirma dekarte, and 7 fistfuls of leek. V'chamsha kune predo, and 5 that are types of grass. Rashi says there's another interpretation. Midayrishash. It's a wild cherry tree. That's what it says here in the footnote. Betlosa kune de tlafche, 3 handfuls of lentils. V'kuna de kmuna, and a handful of cumin. V'kuna de chavli, and a handful of chavle. Let's see what that is. I'm not sure.
Isn't that white?
Oh, the table. There's a different interpretation.
Oh, the table. Oh, I lost.
Or chavle would mean ropes. Ukenegdon kinsa ptirta, and you have to have this opposite that the intestines of a firstborn, the same amount. So you have to have a lot of intestines. V'leivshul, you should cook it. V'leichol, should eat it. V'lishti abasa, you drink afterwards. Shichra charifa, the tevis, like the sharpest and the strongest beer possible that comes from the winter, from tevis. Yeah.
Well, I guess a person's going to be happy if nothing else with all that beer.
All that beer, right? Yeah.
And it was pretty strong in those days.
Yeah. Rashi says, let's say your inner teeth are ill. You have an illness, maybe with your wisdom teeth. Rabba Baravuna said, Lacey, Tuma Yechito, you should bring a garlic, the head of a garlic that only had one side. I think that's what the way Rashi teaches Yechidah. V'nimrisei b'mishcha, you should grind it up with oil, umilcha, and salt. The neisvei atefroi dil yoino, you should put it on the nail of his thumb. Dahu gisa dekayivle, on the side, the hand which is on the side where the teeth hurt. Vanahadale gedainfo delisho. Vanahadale gedainfo delisho, which is gedonfo delisho. You should surround it with a ring of dough. And he says like this: V'nizdar lebisei. You should be very careful that the garlic doesn't touch. It is only on the nail and not the flesh. The koshi lechivra. You could get saras from this garlic. Lechinche. Let's say you have boils in your throat. What do you do? Rabbi Yochanan says like this. Chumse, it's a certain type of grass. It's called mamru. Chumse ki mamru. Certain type of leaves of this plant. And how do they translate it? Let's see. Chumse ki mamru. They translate it as the chumse is like the mamru, the Spanish chamomile plant. There's two types. There's the Spanish chamomile plant. That's how they translate. And it's like the mamru, which is they don't know what that is here either in the Sefaria. And he says like this: V'kora de chumse, the root of this plant, is odif mi mamru, is better. V'nintkoit is better than the mamru. V'nintkoit bepumei hani, and you put it in your mouth. You put it in your mouth to cure you if you have these boils. Hane l'ukme. This is to stabilize so that it doesn't spread. The vashule, if you want to gather the pus that you'll be able to let it out when it breaks. So then laisi pare teresh nafia. You have to bring the coarsest of all the grain that comes to the top when you're sifting on the nafo. Utlafche bafrayu. You have to have lentils together with the earth when they're picked. V'shuvlilto, fenugreek, v'chumrasa de kashusa, a certain type of flour. Rashi says that are I think hops. The flower of the hop plant. And then he says, lost my spot. You take like the amount of a walnut, of a nut in your mouth. Now to finally break it open, to get it broken open, linpachle chavre tachale chivriso. His friend should blow white cress, begila de chitza, with a straw of wheat that's hollow, and he can get the seed of this cress through this wheat. You blow it, and it'll fall into the person's throat. La suke. Now you have to cure it. You got the pus out, but now you have to cure the throat. So what do? You have to do a fourth thing. So first you have to stabilize. Then you have to gather the pus. Then you have to break open the pus. And now you have to cure the skin. They say afra mitula de beisakise. You have to bring earth under the shade of the bathroom in the field. Rashi says like the shade of the stones of the bathroom. It has to be in the shade of the bathroom specifically. And v'nigbol beduvsha, and you have to mix it with honey. At least you have honey there. V'nechol, and eat it. And the reason is the malile. It's good for you. Okay, let's at least go to the next omud. He says like this: the barsem, it's a certain illness. Rashi says it comes from the head through the nose. They translate it as bronchial infection. Does that make sense? Medically, a bronchial infection comes from the head through the nose? What?
Yeah, I could.
Okay. You bring a certain type, the size of a piece of wheat, of rice, sorry. It's a certain potion that's called abonika, amanika. Oh, that's what they translate also, amania, nijdur. Okay, it's a nut-sized. And you bring v'chiyam guza de chalbanisa, a nut size of galbanum, duv shenisa, that's sweet, umole tarvado duvsha, a ladle's worth of honey, umole tarvado duvsha chivra, of white honey, umole natlo, and a certain kli which holds a revius of bas mechuza chamra, bas mechuza chamra nikido, from mechuza. Okay, it's a certain type of kli, not labas mechuza of chamra nikido, which is very clear wine. Rashi says it's not red. V'nish lakinu b'hadi adadi. You have to boil it all together. V'chiboshel nishder boshele kule. When the nishder is cooked, which we said is this ammonia plant, then you know that everything is cooked, because that's the hardest one to cook. So that's like the sign. V'iloi, I think v'iloi means if it doesn't work. That's my opinion. Bring a revius of the milk of a white goat. And you should drip it on 3 stalks of kruv, of cabbage, with a kli, says Rashi. And you should stir the pot with this milk with a certain type of wood, which is called marmahin. And they translate it as marjoram, a sprig of marjoram. And when it cooks, gavza b'marmarin boshele kule. When this sprig of marmarin is cooked, then everything is cooked. I suppose you're also cooking the cabbage and the milk. If this doesn't work, you have to bring the feces of a white dog. What are we curing again? Oh, we're talking about the chinche. No, the barsim. We're talking about barsim, which is the bronchial infection. Okay. So we said you should bring the feces of a white dog, benigvul benatfa. You should mix it with sorry. You should mix it with sorry, which is balm. The kamed efsher nafka loy nechel. The kamed efsher nafka loy nechel. As much as possible, don't eat the feces. The mafrik, it causes your limbs to fall apart. Well, it's going to take a long time to do these things. Let's do one more illness and we'll do a little Yerushalmi, then we'll have to stop for today. Legido. Rashi says it's an illness that's called ashpunta. Ashpunta. A piercing pain, it says in Lioze Rashi. And in the Sefaria, they say a stinging pain. Yeah, they also don't have a translation for it. They say giro de lilso, an arrow of lilis, which is like a concept. Rashi says it's a stone which is made like an arrow, and it falls together with the hail. Sometimes stones fall together.
Wasn't Lilith a woman demon?
Yeah,
in
that
the
she was
Maseches they talk about her.
Yeah, she was with Adam Rishon. So the arrow of Lilith, Rashi says, if it falls with hail, stones that look like an arrow that falls with hail. The nafche, you should turn it upside down so that the stem is below and the base yad is the milo and the handle is above. V'nishdi maya love, you should pour water on it. V'nishdi, you should drink it. V'iloi, and if it doesn't work, again, I'm not sure if it doesn't work or if we don't have it. You should bring water that a dog drank at night. And you should be careful that there's no problem of giloy, there's no snakes who put their poison in it. Okay. Ligiluyo, let's say you drink wine with water that was uncovered, so a snake could have drinking from it. So you have to drink anpakot de chamrachaya, a certain measure of revius of wine that's undiluted. Um, 35. Okay, we'll stop here. We'll start again from Lemorsa tomorrow. Let's do the Yerushalmi. Yerushalmi, the last halacha in.
So we're at the end of the daf.
the end of the Masech, towards the end of.
Well, not at the end. Okay.
I have a bookmark. Sorry.
So you
We're
can
on
go
Daf Lamed Aleph Amud Aleph.
You can go into
On the Halacha Yud.
Bavaria.
Perek Chamishi, the last Halacha in Perek Chamishi in the Yerushalmi.
Can you give us a second? We'll just get it on the tablet, Baruch's tablet.
It's Lamed Beis Amud Aleph.
Lamed Beis Amud Aleph. Yeah, sorry.
Well, we're using the Separia. Okay, so you go to Talmud. And you go to, you have enough charge now.
Perek
You go
Chamishi Halacha Yud.
Yerushalmi, right here, Jerusalem. Scroll down until you find it. Gittin. What Perek did you say it was?
Perek Chamishi Halacha Yud.
Halacha Yud. So it's right again. Around there. Halacha Yud. Okay.
Probably a lot of this stuff is more healthy than the medicines they have today, honestly, as terrible as it sounds.
Pardon me? What'd you say?
I said probably a lot of these cures are more healthy than the medicines they have today.
They might be, yes.
Okay. You're allowed to lend, a woman is allowed to lend to her friend who's kosher, is suspected of transgressing the Isser Shvius, and we're going to talk about in the Yerushalmi what Isser. Nafov v'kvara, like different types of sieves, and kvara is like a wide utensil that you separate things. Rechayim, a millstone, v'tanur, and an oven. Avaloi tover v'lei titpanima, but she shouldn't sift or grind with her. Eishes chaver, the wife of a chaver, Mashel Eishes Amaretz, so the wife of Amaretz, Nafo Kvara, she's allowed to lend her Nafo Kvara, her sieve and this sifting utensil. She's allowed to sift with her and grind with her and winnow it, the flour. But you shouldn't touch it when you put water in, because then there's tumah. There's a problem of tumah and tara, of impurity. You're not supposed to directly work with those who are going to transgress, to cause tumah. To the moment you're making challah, you have a chiyuv to separate the challah, and it's going to be tumah. It's going to be impure. The bread there's a very big possibility that it's going to be impure, so you shouldn't do it. The reason why we lend it to them in the first place, even though they're suspected of transgressing, is because of darkei shalom. So ad kadei kach of helping them directly, that you shouldn't do. But to lend to them, you're allowed to. We help goyim on shmita, that we'll explain. We already explained in the Bavli. You could be shoyel b'shloimon to ask how they're doing because of darkei shalom. Says the Gemara, Mashel Sisha lechaverta b'chulda. Reb Zeda boy come Reb Nosa. Masnisa b'stam or b'ferush aloi. Our Mishnah is only talking about b'stam, that she didn't say she needs it for Shemitah. But if she says clearly she needs it for Shemitah, obviously you're not allowed to. So he said, what do you mean? But what's the logic in there? The stam is also kefedesh. You know that she's chashud al shviz, she's suspected for shviz, and we know that you're using these things for food, so obviously she can use it to be over. So what's the difference? You could always be malabat chus. You could always say this. The sifting machine is to count money. Maybe certain money will fall through, certain money will stay. I don't know exactly. The kvara is for the sand. The rechaim is not for food; it's for these savayim, for these for some money, for colors. Tanner Latin by the tanner is to help with bundle flax. So lav dafka is a shemitah. You could always say, if she says clearly, then you're not allowed to lend it. Pinchas boy Pinchas asks, what's the knas? Where they're both, if they're suspected to plant shemitah and to eat shemitah, or where they plant but not if they eat. And what would be the nafkamina? Let's say you saw them buy it from a non-Jew, Yishmaelite. If you say it's both, if they plant it and even if they eat it, or they buy it from another place, then it'll be forbidden. But if you can say it's only if they plant it, but not if they're eating it, maybe if you saw them buying from a sirki, maybe you should be allowed to help them. There is no answer. The Gemara doesn't answer. I mean, logically, I don't understand why there would be a difference. I honestly don't understand. I'm not sure. I'm saying why logically, why would you differentiate? I don't know. I suppose because they didn't plant it themselves, they're just buying it from someone who planted it. So maybe it's not such a big deal to help them. It's a big deal to help them even in such a case. But it doesn't say here in the Yerushalmi. Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina, boy, al kol pirko, itmar lo doichos itmar. It says because of dark Shalom. And it's referring to, there's a Gemara in Maseches that has a lot of things. So the question is it on everything in the Perek or only in our Mishnah? From the fact that in our Gemara it only mentions these dinim, it must be only about these dinim and not about anything else. In the other cases, it's because of din. It's machmas din. Rashi says, Mechiras Kalim. If you're selling Kalim, there it's not because of Darkei Shalom.
Did you say Rashi?
Sorry, the Korban Eidah. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Now it's interesting. What's the nafkamina? The Pnei Moshe says the nafkamina is if there's no Darkei Shalom. I don't know how you have a case where there's no Darkei Shalom. I don't know. He should explain himself, but I'm not sure. Taman Taninon. It was taught. This is a question. It was taught nachtem shoyse betuma loyloshem v'nechanimai. You're not allowed to help a nachtem, not to knead and not to set up the dough, shape the dough. And also it says you're not allowed to sift or to grind with him. And here it says you are allowed to sift and grind. Here we're talking about chulin. So as long as it's chulin, so because it's chulin, you're allowed to sift and grind. Just the moment we're talking about truma, that's the problem when it becomes challah. But there we're talking about truma from the beginning. So that's why we're strict, even to grind or sift. Perek the Gemara about Tanina Nachtem, but truma, it says a baker. There's no such thing as a baker deals with truma. Truma is a private thing. Chavraya explains. Here we're talking. The Gemara about the mission over there about truma, about the nachtem. Sorry, is talking about where it was already wet from the beginning. The wheat was wet, so because the wheat was wet, it was already fit to kabel tumah from the very beginning. Here we're talking about the wheat wasn't wet. It's only when you add the water that it becomes fit to be makabel tumah. So only when you turn it into dough over here is where it's a problem. Over there, from the beginning, the wheat is with water. Our Mishnah supports this answer. It says clearly in the Mishnah, from the moment you add the water, that's a problem. So over there, we're talking about you added the water to the wheat already to soften the wheat. Let's go out to 2 dots. We're talking about the din of the guy, that you're allowed to help the guy. What does that mean? One of them says you can even tell the guy, plow it well and I'll buy it from you after the Shemitah year. The other one just says you could say yiyasher, like good luck. You're not allowed to tell him, can't tell him I'll buy it from you. That's already too much. What does it mean when it says shaylim b'shloiman? The yid, because you're ready, you can even tell the guy, plow it well and I'll buy it from you. Of course you could be shaylim b'shloiman. So it's a yid who you're going to say yasher. Man damar legoya yasher. According to the opinion, it says to the goy yasher. Ma shaylim b'shloiman shall yisrael shalom aleichem. To yid, you could say shalom aleichem. According to one opinion, you could tell the guy. You shouldn't say to the guy shalom aleichem because it's the shemay shel hakadosh baruch. So you should say yasher. But to the yid, you could say shalom aleichem even if he's over an isser. Okay. This is a big deal. You know, you can even tell shalom aleichem. Okay. We're on the next page. There's a ma'aser. They passed somebody who was plowing Shemitah. Shmuel bar Nachman told him Yiyasher. According to another version, Yisrael at, you're a Yid. Third, it's hard to understand how you can tell a Yid Yiyasher b'shas ma'aser when his mom is being over the Isra. It's hard to understand. Papa told Shmuel bar Nachman, like Ken Alfan Rebbe, didn't Rebbe teach us? You're not allowed to tell to those who transgress. That's how he translates. You can't tell them a yasher. He says, you know how to read the pasuk. We don't know how to expound the pasuk. It's talking about the goyim. The goyim don't tell us. Why they're called Eivrim? Because they disappear from the world. Those who serve Avodah Zarah. What are they not telling? They're not telling the Yisrael. I love this pshat. They don't tell us Berchas Hashem Lekechem. What do we tell them? We tell them the end of the pasuk. We've blessed you in the name of Hashem. Is it not enough that all the brachas in the world come because of us, the Yittin? You, the Goyim, don't tell us, wish us well, to tell us to take from these brachas. You tax us to them through the nose. You shouldn't tax us. Not only should you not tax us, you should thank us for all the blessings that we're giving. That's the bottom line for this pasuk. The Goyim who are Oivrim, they're going to disappear from the world. They don't say they don't wish us well because of all the brachas that we bring. We tell the Goyim, we have blessed you in the name of Hashem. All the brachas of the world come from us. Not only do you not thank us for this, you even tax us. Perek, and that's the end of the Perek. Now we're up to Perek Shishi. We'll start tomorrow.